If you don't force yourself to improve, nothing in your life will. Think about this for a second. How many times have you said, "I'll start tomorrow"? How often have you known exactly what to do, but didn't do it? Most people don't lack potential. They just keep giving in to comfort, and comfort never builds a better life. This isn't about being lazy. It's about letting your feelings run the show. You feel tired, so you skip it. You feel unmotivated, so you delay it. But your life doesn't care how you feel. It only reflects what you do. This video is real. It's for people who are tired of falling back into the same habits. It's for people who want to stop wasting time and start building something that lasts. No more waiting, no more soft talk. If you're ready to push past your limits and take control of your progress, this is your starting point. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. Stand up and fix what you keep ignoring. You know what's tough? Facing something you've been avoiding for days, weeks, or maybe even years. That's hard. But do you know what's even harder? Living with the results of never doing it. Every day, you wake up, and there's something pulling at your mind, a task you haven't completed, a habit you haven't broken, a conversation you haven't had, a decision you've postponed. And the longer you delay it, the heavier it gets. That's the weight of neglect. That's the cost of ignoring what needs your attention. Improvement doesn't start when things are perfect. It starts when you stand up and deal with what's been slowing you down. That's the moment change begins. Most people are waiting for some ideal day to start over. They say they'll do it next week, or after the weekend, or when they feel more ready. But there is no perfect day. There is only today. And the truth is, if you're not willing to face it now, you likely won't face it later. So if something in your life feels off, if you know deep down there's an area you've been running from, don't look away anymore. Improvement begins the moment you decide you're done pretending things are fine. You don't need to be perfect to begin. You just need to be honest. Be honest about what you've been avoiding. Be honest about the ways you've let yourself slide. Be honest about the patterns that are stealing your time, energy, and potential. You see, it's not the big goals that break people, it's the small lies they keep telling themselves. It's the silent agreement they make with their weaker self every day. That inner voice that says, "You'll do it tomorrow." That voice is the enemy. That voice keeps you average. That voice protects your comfort, but destroys your progress. That voice sounds soft, but it leads you to a hard life. If you want to grow, you've got to get loud with your actions. You've got to break that quiet agreement with laziness. If your room is messy, clean it. If your finances are out of control, open your bank account and look at it. If your health is falling apart, go for a walk and eat a proper meal today. Not tomorrow, not next month, today. Because the moment you face it is the moment you take your power back. Every problem you ignore grows in the dark, but every problem you face gets smaller in the light of action. Most people don't fall because they're weak. They fall because they keep waiting to feel strong before they act. But that's not how it works. Action first, feeling later. Strength comes from doing hard things, not thinking about them. The person you want to become is already inside you, but that version of you is hidden behind all the things you're avoiding. Now listen, I've met people from all over the world, people with all kinds of talent, intelligence, and dreams. But you know what separates the ones who grow from the ones who stay stuck? It's not luck. It's not who their parents were. It's not how much money they had starting out. It's the decision to face what's hard without turning their back on it. They got up and fixed what they kept ignoring. You don't need a new course or a new app to do that. You need courage. You need discipline. You need to stop asking how you feel about it and start asking what needs to be done. Start small if you have to. Clean your workspace. Answer that email. Go to bed on time. Drink water. Apologize if you need to. Finish something you started but left hanging. Those little steps may not seem like much, but they stack up, and every one of them builds your confidence back, brick by brick. When you take action, even if it's small, your brain starts to believe again. Your self-respect starts to grow again. You stop feeling like life is happening to you, and you start feeling like you're directing it. That's power. That's ownership. That's improvement. And the truth is, no one's coming to rescue you. No one's going to wake you up early. No one's going to sit you down and fix your problems for you. You have to do it. You have to rise up and take that first step when no one's clapping for you. That's real growth. That's what separates the talkers from the doers. You know what needs your attention. You don't need more time, you need more responsibility. Growth isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters. It's about picking the area of your life that's been ignored for too long and finally saying, enough, I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to stop escaping. I'm going to stop blaming. I'm going to stop hiding. Because once you deal with that one thing, your energy will shift. Your identity will start to change. You'll feel more capable. You'll start trusting yourself again. And that's when the magic starts happening, not in theory, but in real life. See, self-improvement isn't a lifestyle trend. It's a personal promise. It's not something you do only when you feel motivated. It's something you do because you respect yourself. And every day you ignore what matters, you're breaking that promise to yourself. But every time you take action, no matter how small, you're building it back stronger. There's no shortcut to growth. There's only facing what you've been avoiding and doing what needs to be done without delay, without excuses, without running. That's the work. That's the discipline. That's how you get better. I know it's uncomfortable. I know it's hard. But here's the thing, avoiding the problem doesn't make life easier. It just makes you weaker. And you're not here to be weak. You're here to get stronger. You're here to push yourself. You're here to become the version of yourself that you respect. The version that takes charge. The version that leads. The version that keeps promises and handles pressure. So, if there's something in your life right now that you've been ignoring, face it today. Don't wait for some magic feeling to show up. You won't feel ready. You just have to be done waiting. Stand up. Fix what's broken. Handle what's messy. Do what's uncomfortable. Because the longer you delay, the further you drift from the person you want to be. And I promise you this, once you do it, once you face it, once you fix it, you'll breathe differently. You'll walk differently. You'll think more clearly. You'll trust yourself more. And from that moment on, you'll realize that growth was never as far as it seemed. It was always on the other side of doing what you've been ignoring. You want to improve? Start there. Stand up and fix what you keep ignoring. That's the first step to real change. That's how the climb begins. And once you take that step, everything else starts to move with you. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. And that strength, that daily choice to face what matters, is how you force yourself to improve every single day. Chapter 2. Clean your space before you clean your mind. Look around the space you live in. Look at your room, your desk, your kitchen, your car, even your digital life. Look at the clutter, the mess, the disorganization. That is not just stuff lying around. That's a reflection of your decisions, your mental state, and your personal discipline. The environment you allow around you shapes the way you think, the way you act, and how you feel about yourself. You can't build a strong, focused mind in the middle of chaos. If your outer world is out of order, your inner world will struggle to feel sharp, calm, or focused. And that's the truth. People say they want clarity, peace, motivation, energy. But it's hard to have those things when you're waking up in a room full of clothes on the floor, cups on the table, tasks undone, and random papers piled up. You can't expect your mind to be clear when your environment keeps reminding you of everything you haven't handled. That silent stress builds up. It becomes mental noise. And every day you ignore it, it chips away at your focus, your motivation, your power. Before you try to reset your mindset, start with what you can control right now. Clean your space. That's not just about being neat, it's about taking back control. Because when you clean your space, you clean your behavior. When you throw out what you don't need, you stop holding on to what no longer helps you. When you put things in order, your brain starts to believe that you're capable of order. It believes that you can fix things. It sees action, and action is the foundation of improvement. No one feels powerful in a mess. No one sits in a dirty space and says, "I feel unstoppable." That's because we're wired to respond to our surroundings. And when you live in clutter, it trains your brain to tolerate confusion and delay action. You stop seeing what needs to be done. You start accepting that the pile in the corner will stay there. And slowly, that acceptance becomes your standard. You stop reacting to it because you've trained yourself to ignore it. And that mindset leaks into everything else. You delay things. You accept low standards. You leave things half-finished. You start living in a cycle of tolerating what you know you should fix. So the first step to getting your life together is to take responsibility for what's around you. You don't need money to clean your space. You don't need a self-help book or a planner or a perfect routine. You just need to get up and start removing the things that don't belong. Throw away the trash. Wipe the surfaces. Organize your workspace. Make your bed. Fold your clothes. It's not about impressing anyone. It's about showing yourself that you have the discipline to create a better environment. And here's what most people don't realize: cleaning your space builds momentum. You start with one drawer, and it leads to the closet. You clean your room, and suddenly you want to go for a walk. You finish a task, and now your mind feels sharper. That's how it starts. One action leads to another. That's how you build movement. That's how you break the mental fog. Not by sitting and waiting to feel better, but by doing something small that leads to something big. Cleaning also gives you space to think. When your surroundings are clean, you can focus better. Your thoughts aren't competing with the mess. Your brain isn't drained by all the visual reminders of what you've ignored. You can breathe better. You feel lighter. That's not an illusion. That's your mind finally getting a break from carrying the weight of the unfinished. And it's not just about physical space. Clean your phone, delete the apps you don't use, clear out the emails that don't matter, unfollow accounts that drain your energy. When your digital world is chaotic, it pulls your mind in 100 directions. You're trying to focus, but your phone is buzzing, your tabs are open, your photos are full of screenshots and junk. That's not harmless, it's a constant stream of noise. And noise makes it harder to think, harder to focus, harder to stay consistent. You want a better life? Start by cleaning the life you already have. Because the truth is, if you don't respect what you have, you won't respect what's coming next. A person who can't manage a messy room will struggle to manage a business, a team, a dream. Because the habits are the same. Either you fix what's broken or you look away. Either you take ownership or you avoid responsibility. It starts small, but it always shows up later in big ways. People talk about feeling stuck. They say they're unmotivated or depressed or overwhelmed. And yes, those are real and serious feelings. But many times, the first thing they need isn't a deep talk or a new idea. It's a reset, a return to order, a space that reflects their intention to move forward. Because when you clean your space, you give yourself permission to show up fully again. You stop living in yesterday's mess. You start living in today's possibilities. This is about identity. When you keep your space clean, you're telling yourself, I care, I matter, My goals matter. My energy matters. That message gets repeated every day when you walk into a space you've taken care of. And that builds self-respect. Self-respect creates discipline. Discipline creates results. And results create change. On the flip side, if you keep ignoring your environment, your mind starts believing that you're not serious about change. It believes that you're okay with how things are. That belief becomes a story, and that story becomes your identity. The more you accept mess, the more you become someone who lives in it physically and mentally. It's not about being obsessive or perfect. It's about being intentional. You don't need to deep clean your whole life in one day. You just need to start. Pick a small corner. Handle one drawer. Fold what's been sitting for too long. Organize one folder on your computer. The goal isn't to impress others. The goal is to prove to yourself that you can handle responsibility, because that proof stacks up. It changes how you speak, how you walk, how you think. It sharpens your mind. People are looking for motivation, but motivation comes after you act, not before. You don't wait until you feel like cleaning. You clean, and then the feeling of control starts to rise again. You clean, and you begin to think clearer. You clean, and you get that little win that leads to the next one. If your space is clean, your priorities become clearer. You're not distracted by junk, not pulled away by disorder. You sit down to work and there's space to breathe. You go to sleep and your room feels calm. You wake up and you're not starting the day already behind. That peace matters. That sense of control matters. So don't underestimate it. This isn't about being tidy. It's about becoming someone who takes action, someone who values their space, their mind, their time, someone who doesn't tolerate unnecessary stress, someone who handles what needs to be handled without needing applause or permission. You'll notice the difference. You'll feel it in your mood, in your energy, in the way you talk to people, because how you do the small things starts to shape how you do everything. And when you take the time to clean your space, you're training yourself to fix, organize, manage, and lead. That's improvement. That's personal growth. That's how you become stronger. If you want to move forward in life, you have to clear the path. Clean up the old before you chase the new. Take ownership of where you live, how you live, and what you allow around you. Your environment is either pushing you forward or holding you back. So clean your space not because you're told to, but because you've decided it's time to live like someone who's ready to grow. And once you do it, once you look around and see that space clear and organized, you'll realize it wasn't about the room, it was about you. It was about proving that you're not someone who avoids, someone who delays, someone who settles. You're someone who shows up, takes action, and builds a life with intention. Start there. Start today. Clean your space before you clean your mind. The rest will follow.
Chapter 3. Do what you said, even if mood changes. Following through on what you said you would do, especially when your mood shifts, is what's people who grow from people who stay stuck. It's easy to make a plan when you feel good. It's easy to say you'll wake up early, finish the project, eat clean, read the book, stay off social media, or stick to your routine when you're in the right headspace. But life doesn't care about how you feel when it's time to act. Life checks if your actions match your words when it's hard. That's the real test. Most people don't struggle because they're incapable. They struggle because they don't follow through. Once their emotions change, they let a mood decide whether or not they'll honor their commitment. But growth begins when you stop asking how you feel and start remembering what you said. If you said you were going to do it, then do it. That's where self-respect comes from. That's how you build character. You become someone you can trust. If you only move when it feels good, you will never move consistently. You'll stay trapped in cycles of starting and stopping, always waiting for the right emotion to show up and carry you through. But motivation doesn't lead to action. Action leads to motivation. You have to stop depending on how you feel and start depending on your decisions. What you decided during a clear moment should not be erased just because you're having a rough day. Your goals didn't change, your values didn't change, your promises didn't change, only your mood did. So don't let a temporary emotion erase a long-term intention. The truth is, your mood will shift all the time. You'll feel tired, irritated, bored, sad, frustrated, or distracted. That's normal. But discipline isn't about doing something when everything feels perfect. Discipline is doing what matters, even when everything feels off. If you only take action when the mood is right, you'll miss out on 90% of your potential, because most of your growth will require effort when your energy is low, not when it's high. People say they want confidence, but confidence comes from doing the hard thing, not talking about it. Every time you show up and keep your word, even when you don't feel like it, you build a deeper trust with yourself. You start believing in your ability to handle pressure. You begin to see yourself as someone who finishes what they start. That changes everything. And the truth is, no one sees all the moments you choose to show up. No one will know the exact days when your energy was low, but you still pushed forward. No one will clap for the private moments of discipline, but those are the moments that shape your life. That's where you separate from the crowd. That's where the shift begins. Not on the stage, but behind closed doors, when you decide to stick to your word, even when your emotions are against you. There will be days when you feel like doing nothing. You'll want to skip your workout. You'll want to scroll your phone instead of finishing your task. You'll tell yourself, just for today, I'll rest. Just today, I'll delay. But those little compromises are dangerous because they become habits. And those habits start defining your life. What starts as one skipped task turns into a pattern of avoiding hard things. And soon you find yourself stuck again. Not because you're lazy, but because you've trained your brain to depend on comfort before commitment. You have to train your mind to move regardless of emotion. That's how you win. That's how you separate feelings from choices. Because when you wake up and your mood is off, and you still do what needs to be done, that's strength. That's real personal growth. It's not about being perfect or robotic. It's about keeping your word. It's about honoring what you said when no one's watching. And here's what's real. No one is coming to make sure you do it. No one's checking in to make sure you followed through. It's on you. Your integrity is your responsibility. You said you would do it, so do it. And if you keep doing that every day, regardless of your mood, you'll be shocked at how fast your life changes. Because the people who improve fast aren't always the most talented. They're the ones who keep moving when their mood doesn't match the mission. You have to stop treating your feelings like instructions. Feelings are real, but they're not always helpful. Sometimes you'll feel tired and still need to work. Sometimes you'll feel upset and still need to be focused. Sometimes you'll feel empty and still need to push forward. If you only act when the mood is perfect, you'll miss the exact moments when growth was waiting for you. If you want your life to change, you must become someone who does hard things in quiet moments. You must become someone who sees a task through, not because it's fun, but because it's necessary. You build that identity by doing what you said, regardless of how you feel about it later. That's where your power lives, in the ability to stay loyal to the vision you chose on day 1, even when day 30 feels completely different. When you live like this, people will notice, not because you brag, but because your actions are consistent. You'll start carrying yourself differently. You'll speak with more conviction. You'll stop needing others to push you, because you've learned how to push yourself. That's what happens when your words and actions line up. You feel aligned. You feel clear. You feel strong. Don't get it wrong, this isn't about becoming emotionless. You're human. You will feel all sorts of things. But feelings are temporary, and your life is shaped by what you do repeatedly, not by what you feel temporarily. The world respects people who keep their word. And more importantly, you will start to respect yourself on a new level, because you'll know, deep down, that your results came from doing what most people avoid. Think about all the times you've said you'd start something. And think about how many times you've let your mood decide whether or not it happened. You don't need another restart. You need to become someone who finishes. And finishing starts with honoring what you said, regardless of how your emotions try to interrupt. When you make a plan, lock it in. When you set a goal, don't revisit it every time you're tired. When you commit to a habit, follow through even when no one's checking. Because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you rise. Every time you finish something you started, you grow. Every time you act without relying on motivation, you level up your identity. You won't always feel ready. You won't always feel good. You won't always feel motivated. But you can always choose to follow through. That's your power. That's your edge. That's what creates real momentum. Start paying attention to the little things. If you said you'd read, read. If you said you'd go to the gym, if you said you'd stop procrastinating, then act now. These small moments of integrity shape everything. They teach your brain that your word means something. They show your nervous system that action is the default, not delay. And over time, that changes how you respond to every challenge. You'll still have emotions, but your emotions won't control your life anymore. You'll feel tired and still work. You'll feel nervous and still speak. You'll feel bored and still show up. That's growth. That's freedom. That's becoming the version of yourself who lives with intention, not reaction. So the next time your mood shifts, don't follow it. Remember what you said. Remember what matters. Remember why you started. And do the thing anyway, because the real you, the strong you, the focused you, that version of you lives on the other side of keeping your word even when your mood says stop. That's how you take control of your life. That's how you build unstoppable momentum. That's how you force yourself to improve. By doing what you said, every single time, especially when it's hard. Especially when the mood changes. Because that's the difference between those who wish for a better life and those who actually create one.
Chapter 4. Talk to yourself like someone who wants better. The way you speak to yourself matters more than you think. Most people walk around all day with a voice inside their head that does more damage than any outside criticism ever could. It's quiet, it's constant, and it shapes how they feel, what they believe, and what they do. That voice either builds you or breaks you. And the truth is, for many people that voice has been tearing them down for years. Every time they make a mistake, that voice jumps in. Every time they fall short, that voice shows up. It reminds them of their failures, their past, their doubts, and their fears. It doesn't guide them forward. It keeps them stuck. You can't grow if you're always tearing yourself down. You can't push forward if the first thing you hear in your mind is you can't do this or you're not good enough. That becomes the barrier between who you are and who you could be. If you want better for your life, you have to start talking to yourself like someone who wants better. You can't treat yourself like an enemy and expect to succeed. That doesn't mean lying to yourself or pretending everything is perfect. It means being honest, but also being supportive. It means holding yourself accountable but doing it from a place of belief, not shame.
Imagine you were mentoring someone who truly wanted to grow. Would you speak to them the way you speak to yourself? Would you criticize them for every flaw, remind them of every failure, and crush their confidence before they even start? Or would you encourage them, give them direction, and remind them of their potential? Now ask yourself, why don't you do the same for you? The words you say inside matter. They shape your attitude. They influence your energy. They guide your choices. If you keep telling yourself that you always mess up, that you'll never change, that it's too late, or that you're not good enough, you're building a mental environment that makes growth impossible. And you don't even realize you're doing it because it feels normal. But just because it's normal doesn't mean it's right. And just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's helpful. Start becoming aware of how you talk to yourself when things go wrong. Pay attention to your inner language when you feel behind, when you make a mistake, when you fall off track. Are you being the kind of person you'd trust for support? Or are you making it harder for yourself to keep going? Growth doesn't come from beating yourself up. It comes from understanding your behavior and giving yourself direction. It comes from seeing where you went wrong and giving yourself a plan to move forward, not punishment, but purpose. You need that voice inside to become a coach, not a critic. You need to stop feeding yourself negativity and start feeding yourself belief. You don't have to fake confidence. You just have to stop programming your mind with doubt. You do that by changing your self-talk, by interrupting those automatic phrases that keep playing in your mind. When you hear yourself say, "I always quit," replace it with, "I'm learning how to stay consistent." When you hear, "I'll never change," replace it with, "I'm building new habits every day." These aren't empty words, they're commands to your brain. They're mental shifts. They redirect your attention. They open a different path. People think affirmations are cheesy, but the truth is, we're all using affirmations. We just call them thoughts. If you repeat to yourself all day that you're lazy, that you're behind, that you're stuck, then you're affirming your limitations. You're locking yourself into that identity. But if you start choosing words that lead you somewhere better, everything begins to shift. You start acting different because you feel different. And you feel different because you think different. It's not magic. It's psychology. It's habit. It's repetition. You can train your mind just like you train your body. But you have to start small and be consistent. Start by noticing when you talk down to yourself. Catch it in the moment. Don't let it slide. Call it out. Replace it. Speak words that challenge you, but also support you. You don't need to be soft. You need to be real. Talk to yourself with truth, but also with direction. Stop saying "I can't" and start saying "I will figure this out." Stop saying "this is who I am" and start saying "this is who I'm becoming." The most powerful person in your life is you, not your parents, not your boss, not your friends. You. Because no matter what anyone says, your mind listens to you the most. So give it something strong to listen to. Stop waiting for someone to motivate you. Stop hoping someone will come along and fix your mindset. That's your job. That's your responsibility. That's how you take control of your life. This isn't about being overly positive or pretending to be happy all the time. It's about being intentional with your words, because the words you speak internally form the beliefs that drive your behavior. And if your beliefs are broken, your actions will never be consistent. Fix the way you speak to yourself, and you'll fix the way you show up in life. Start today. Don't wait for some special moment. Begin with the next thought that enters your mind. If it's negative, challenge it. If it's limiting, replace it. You have that power. You're not a slave to your thoughts. You're the one creating them. And that means you can choose better ones. Your brain believes what you tell it repeatedly. If you tell it you're stuck, it finds proof. If you tell it you're improving, It looks for ways to grow. It doesn't care what's true. It cares what's repeated. So start repeating what you want to become. Start telling yourself things that pull you forward, not push you down. You won't get it perfect. You'll have bad days. You'll still doubt yourself sometimes. But the more you practice, the stronger that voice becomes. Over time, that new voice becomes your default. And when that happens, everything changes. You start to trust yourself more. You take more risks. You stop needing validation. You stop fearing failure. Because now when things go wrong, your mind doesn't say you're a failure. It says, this is a lesson. It doesn't say you can't handle this. It says, you've been through worse. That's the voice you need. That's the voice that creates progress. So if you want better, start sounding like someone who wants better. Cut out the self-hate. Remove the sarcasm. Stop calling yourself names. That's not toughness. That's self-destruction. Be firm, but fair. Be honest, but hopeful. Talk to yourself like someone who believes you can grow. Because you can. But only if you give yourself permission to try again. Only if you stop tearing yourself down every time you slip. Only if you build a mindset that allows you to get up, instead of staying stuck. You don't have to wait for a new year or a new month to change how you talk to yourself. You can begin right now. You can decide that your inner voice is going to become your biggest support system. That it's going to guide you, not block you. That it's going to challenge you but never belittle you. Improvement doesn't just come from changing what you do. It comes from changing how you speak, how you think, how you respond to yourself when things get hard. It comes from building an inner dialogue that pushes you forward instead of pulling you down. That's what real strength looks like. Not pretending to be fun, but choosing to speak to yourself like someone who wants more out of life, and is willing to build it one thought, one word, one belief at a time.
Chapter 5. Stop scrolling and do one useful thing now. Look at your phone. How many hours have disappeared into it today? Be honest. Not just the time spent on actual tasks, but the time you wasted swiping, scrolling, watching, tapping, refreshing. You're not alone. Millions of people around the world are losing their days, one scroll at a time. They're not lazy, they're not broken, but they are distracted. And distraction is stealing their potential quietly, slowly, and with their permission. You think you're just killing a few minutes, you think it's harmless. But those few minutes add up. 10 minutes in the morning, 20 during lunch, 40 before bed. Suddenly it's 3 hours, and what do you have to show for it? Nothing that moves your life forward. Nothing that makes you stronger. Nothing that gives you clarity. Just more noise, more content, more other people's opinions, more things you didn't need to see and didn't benefit from knowing. Every time you scroll without purpose, you're trading your attention for nothing. Your brain gets a little hit of stimulation, but your life doesn't get better. You don't get closer to your goals. You don't solve your problems. You don't build anything that matters. You just pass time, and time is not something you get back. Time is not refillable. Once it's gone, it's gone. You can't earn it again. You can't download it. You can't get a refund. That's why wasting it is one of the most dangerous habits you can build. And what makes it worse is that it feels so normal. Everyone's doing it. You see people in restaurants, in meetings, walking on the street, even in bed next to the people they love, staring at screens, swiping through content that means absolutely nothing. No purpose, no gain, just passive consumption. And what happens when you live like that long enough? You start to lose the ability to focus. You lose the energy to do deep work. You lose the hunger to take action. Your mind becomes used to reacting instead of creating. And slowly, you lose momentum in your own life.
You know what you should be doing. There's something right now that could move your life in a better direction. Maybe it's organizing your space. Maybe it's planning your day. Maybe it's calling someone you've been avoiding. Maybe it's working on that idea you keep thinking about but never starting. You know what it is, but instead of doing it, you reach for your phone. You scroll. You delay. You distract yourself from responsibility. And then you wonder why nothing's changing. The truth is, you don't need more motivation. You don't need another video or another quote. You need to stop scrolling and do one useful thing now, not later. Now. That one thing can be small, but it must be useful. It must matter. It must make you better. Because action creates progress, and progress creates energy. And energy pulls you forward. Scrolling doesn't do that. It just pauses your life while you watch others live theirs. People say they feel tired all the time, but they're not physically tired. They're mentally drained. Not because they worked too hard, but because they didn't work at all. They spent hours looking at everything except their own path. They filled their minds with so much random input that they had no room left to think clearly. That mental clutter builds up. It makes you feel stuck. But you're not stuck. You're just buried under things that don't matter. And the only way to climb out is to act. One action. That's all it takes to break the pattern. Put the phone down. Close the tab. Shut off the TV. Choose one useful thing. And do it. Right now. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Not after one more post. Now. Because the longer you wait, the heavier it gets, the harder it becomes to move. But if you act immediately, even with something small, you create a shift. That shift is powerful. It tells your brain you're not a slave to distraction. It reminds you that you're in control. It gives you a reason to keep going. And the best part is, once you do one useful thing, it's easier to do another. Momentum begins, and momentum is what turns days around. It's what pulls you out of a slump. It's what gets you back on track. Your future is being shaped by what you do now. Every scroll, every delay, every wasted minute is a brick in the wall that's blocking your potential. You can't say you want to improve and keep doing things that hold you back. It doesn't work like that. Improvement starts when you stop lying to yourself, when you stop saying just 5 more minutes, and instead say I'm done wasting time. This isn't about quitting technology or never using social media again. It's about control. It's about self-respect. It's about deciding that your time is valuable and you're not going to give it away for free to things that don't help you grow. You need to treat your attention like it's your most valuable resource, because it is. Whatever grabs it is shaping you. So be intentional, be protective, be ruthless about what you allow to pull your focus. If you're tired of feeling behind, if you're sick of wasting days, if you know deep down you could be doing more, then start now. Don't make it complicated. Don't overthink it. Just stop scrolling and do one useful thing. Wash the dishes, plan your schedule, take a walk, read one page, write down your goals, respond to that message, clear your inbox. One thing, that's it. And once you're done, do the next, and the next, and the next. The more you practice this, the easier it gets. You train your mind to stay present. You train your willpower to stay strong. You train your body to move with purpose. And that training carries over into every area of life. You become more disciplined at work. You become more focused in conversations. You become more intentional with your time. And people notice. You start standing out, not because you're louder, but because you're clear. You're not scattered. You're not distracted. You're grounded in action. You want to build a better life. Then stop using your free time to avoid. Stop drowning your energy in entertainment that doesn't move you forward. Start choosing action over distraction. Start living on purpose, not just by habit. Because once you build that habit, it becomes your edge. While others waste hours, you build skill. While others chase trends, you chase growth. While others get lost in noise, you stay locked into what matters. And remember this, no one is going to do this for you. No one is coming to save your time. No one is going to pull the phone out of your hand. It's on you. The responsibility is yours, and that's a good thing. Because if it's your responsibility, then it's also your power. You can choose something better starting right now. You can decide that today is not going to be another day lost to mindless scrolling. You can make it count. All it takes is one useful thing, one action, one shift. And that shift can lead to a better habit, a better day, and a better future. So choose wisely, choose intentionally, choose now, because your life is waiting not for more scrolling, but for more doing, not for more content, but for more creation, not for more distraction, but for more direction. Put the phone down. Focus on one thing that makes you better. That's how you improve. That's how you take control. And that's how you...
Chapter 6. Eat right when your body wants to quit. There comes a moment in everyone's day, sometimes more than once, where the body feels heavy, the energy dips, and the mind starts looking for an escape. That's the moment most people reach for something quick, something salty, something sweet, something that brings instant comfort. It might be a sugary drink, fast food, junk from a packet, or something greasy that tastes good in the moment, but always leaves you feeling worse. That's the trap. When your body wants to quit, it doesn't need more junk. It needs fuel. It needs something real. But your emotions try to convince you otherwise. Your body isn't just asking for food, it's asking for support. It's tired, and the easiest thing to do is give in to a craving. But the craving isn't the cure. It's a short-term fix with a long-term cost. The truth is, the more often you give in when you're tired, the more you train your body to expect comfort when what it really needs is care. And this is where the real battle begins. Not just with hunger, but with discipline. Discipline to choose what helps you recover instead of what helps you escape. When you eat better in those moments, you're not just feeding your body, you're sending a message to your brain. You're saying, I respect myself too much to destroy my progress. You're saying, I don't need a reward right now, I need to stay in control. And that message builds momentum. It strengthens the part of you that keeps promises. It makes you more resilient. Because every choice you make when you're tired tells the truth about how serious you are about improving your life. People don't usually break down because they're weak. They break down because they stop paying attention. They move from one meal to the next without intention. They live on autopilot, and autopilot always leads to regret. You don't think about how that fast food meal will make you feel 3 hours later. You only think about how easy it is to get. But the goal is not to choose what's easy. The goal is to choose what supports your future, especially when you're low on energy and motivation. Your energy is built on patterns. Eat trash consistently, and you feel like trash consistently. Your sleep suffers, your focus disappears, your mood drops, your body aches, and most people don't even realize food is part of the problem. They think they're tired because of stress, or work, or life, but much of that heaviness is coming from what they're feeding themselves. The body can't perform well when it's always in recovery mode from bad fuel. It can't stay sharp when it's fighting against what you keep putting inside it. You don't need to follow a perfect diet to feel better. You don't need to turn into a nutrition expert overnight. But you do need to wake up to the fact that what you eat is either helping you or hurting you. And when you're in the middle of a slump, when everything feels off,
the worst thing you can do is reach for something that makes the slump even worse. That's the exact moment you need to step up and feed yourself with purpose. Eating right when your body wants to quit isn't just about food, it's about mindset. It's about treating yourself like someone who matters, someone who deserves good energy, someone who needs to stay sharp, someone who has things to build, goals to chase, and a future worth protecting. You don't feed a machine garbage and expect it to run well. Why would you treat yourself with less care than that? One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that they'll start eating better when life calms down. But life doesn't calm down, and discipline doesn't grow in ideal conditions. It grows in pressure, in fatigue. In real life, you don't learn how to eat right when you feel good. You learn when you feel drained and still choose to eat clean. You learn when you pass by the junk food and grab something nutritious because your future matters more than your craving. This isn't about being extreme, it's about being consistent. One meal can shift your mood. One meal can change your energy. One meal can remind you that you're in control. It's easy to throw away an entire day just because you slipped once. But that's a mindset problem, not a food problem. You don't fix a mistake by repeating it, you fix it by choosing better next time. And that next time might be the very next meal. You have to train yourself to see food as fuel, not therapy. You're not fixing your stress with sugar, you're numbing it. And when the sugar crash hits, the stress is still there, only now you feel worse, and now you've built the habit of escaping instead of solving. But when you choose a better option, something simple and clean, something that gives your body the nutrients it actually needs, you start taking your power back. You start showing up differently. Improving your life doesn't happen in big dramatic moments. It happens in the small, quiet choices you make every day. Like what you eat when no one is watching. Like what you reach for when you're running on low. Like how you handle your nutrition when you feel like giving up. Those choices stack. They create a foundation. And over time, they shape how you think, how you move, and how you live. There are going to be days when your energy crashes. That's not failure. That's human. But what you do in those moments decides what happens next. Do you feed the crash with more poison? Or do you feed it with fuel that brings you back stronger? That decision is always yours. And the more often you make the right one, the easier it becomes. Don't let your feelings decide your food. Let your goals do that. Let your priorities lead. Let your commitment to growth be the voice that guides you in the kitchen, at the store, at the drive-thru. Even if you're busy, even if you're tired, there's always a better choice, and the better choice doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be intentional. It just has to support your energy, not sabotage it. And here's what's real. Eating right doesn't just help your body, it sharpens your mind. It clears your focus. It lifts your mood. It gives you stamina. It makes you think better, react faster, and feel more confident. Because when your body is fueled right, your entire system works better. That's what most people never experience, how good they could actually feel if they stopped feeding themselves like they didn't care. You have to care. You have to take it seriously. You have to look at food as a tool. You wouldn't pour soda into a car engine and expect it to run. Stop doing that to yourself. Respect your system. Respect your future. Respect your energy. Because your work, your relationships, your progress, they all depend on how you feel. And how you feel is shaped by how you eat. There will be moments when your emotions scream for comfort. You'll want chips, sweets, soda, fast food, and it'll feel like a reward. But it's not a reward if it ruins your momentum. It's not a reward if it leaves you feeling worse. Start rewarding yourself with strength, with control, with discipline. Start feeling proud of the fact that you took care of yourself when it was hardest to do so. This is the moment where you decide what kind of person you're becoming. Someone who gives in when it's hard, or someone who steps up and feeds their future. Someone who uses food as a drug, or someone who uses it as fuel. That decision is made meal by meal, day by day, moment by moment. And every time you choose right, you build that identity. You become the kind of person who doesn't quit on themselves when things get hard. So the next time your body is tired, the next time your mind is cloudy, the next time you feel like quitting, don't reach for something that makes it worse. Reach for something that makes you stronger. Eat like your goals depend on it, because they do. Eat like your energy matters, because it does. Eat like you're going somewhere important, because you are. That's how you improve, not just in what you do, but in how you treat yourself when your energy runs low. Eat right when your body wants to quit. That's discipline. That's growth. That's real self-respect. And that's what builds a life you're proud to live.
Chapter 7. Move your body even if energy feels low. There will be days when your body feels like it's running on empty. The weight of stress, poor sleep, bad habits, and endless thoughts will press down on you, making it harder to move. You'll sit in silence, convincing yourself that you're just tired, that you deserve rest, that maybe tomorrow will feel better. But deep down, you know this. Movement is not just something you do when energy is high, it's something you do to bring your energy back. When your body wants to shut down, that's often the exact moment it needs motion the most. You don't have to be full of energy to start, you just need to begin with whatever strength you have. Stand up, stretch, take a few steps, let your blood start flowing again. Most people wait for motivation to move, but the truth is, motion creates motivation. You don't move because you're ready, you move to become ready. The body responds to activity, it wakes up when you show it that you're still in charge. Energy doesn't come from sitting still all day. It doesn't come from laying on the couch, hoping you'll suddenly feel inspired. It comes from breaking the inertia. That initial push feels hard, it feels heavy. But the moment you take the first step, physically or mentally, you interrupt the spiral. That interruption is power. That's momentum starting to build, even if it's small. Most people don't need a 2-hour workout, they don't need a perfect gym session, they just need to move. They need to remind their body that it was built to be used. Your body is not meant to stay still for hours while your mind races. That's a recipe for anxiety, fatigue, and frustration. Movement is one of the simplest ways to reset your entire system. It gets you back into your body, out of your head, and into action. There's a mental wall that forms when energy is low. You start telling yourself that movement will only make things worse, that rest is the smarter choice. But there's a difference between recovery and avoidance. Resting when you're genuinely drained is smart, but lying down all day because you don't feel like facing life, that's a slow death to your discipline. That's where people fall behind, not from exhaustion, but from overthinking their way into inaction. You need to remember that movement doesn't just shift your physical state, it affects your mindset. When your muscles move, your brain wakes up, your posture improves, your breathing deepens, your blood circulates better, your focus sharpens, even your emotional state improves. There's science behind it. But more than science, there's life experience. You've felt it before, that walk you didn't want to take but felt better after. That stretch you forced yourself into that somehow cleared your mind. That small workout that gave you clarity when everything else felt stuck. Those are not coincidences, that's proof. You don't need to feel great to move, you need to move to feel better. Waiting for the perfect mood is how you waste days.
And once a day is wasted, it's gone. But if you move even a little, that day gets reclaimed. You earn it back. One walk, one round of push-ups, one set of squats, one full body stretch. That's all it takes to begin. This is about responsibility. You're responsible for how you feel, and one of the tools you have is movement. Use it. Don't surrender to tiredness without asking yourself, did I move today? Have I done anything that supports my energy instead of draining it? The answer is often no, and that's why you feel heavy. Not because something is wrong with you, but because your body hasn't had a chance to activate the systems that were designed to carry you forward. You don't need to go to a gym. You don't need fancy equipment. Your body is the tool. Use it. Wake it up. Honor it by putting it in motion, especially when it resists. Resistance is a sign that movement is necessary. That stiffness you feel, that's not laziness. That's your body asking for attention. Give it what it needs. Respect it by not ignoring the signal. Think about the long-term cost of ignoring physical movement. You feel more fatigued. You become more mentally sluggish. You start losing the sharpness in your decisions. You get moody. Your confidence drops. You start shrinking from challenges that used to feel small. That's what happens when the body is ignored. It starts pulling the rest of you down with it. But when you take care of it, even when it's inconvenient, you rise. You feel more grounded. You feel more alive. No one is going to do it for you. No one is going to lift your arms, stretch your back, move your legs. That's on you. That's your job. That's your act of responsibility. Because every time you move when you don't feel like it, you're proving to yourself that you're not controlled by how you feel. You're in control. That's how confidence is built, not in comfort, but in action taken when it's least convenient. You're not too tired to move. You're too used to letting that tiredness become an excuse. Flip the script. Redefine what tired means. Tired doesn't mean stop. Tired means start small. Take it step by step. Set a timer for 5 minutes and move. Most of the time you'll keep going once you begin. That's how momentum works. You just need to break the pattern. You need to take the first step. Don't make it complicated. Stretch for 5 minutes. Do a short walk around your house. Stand up and do basic movements. Shake out the tension. Roll your shoulders. Move your neck. Breathe deeply. These things seem small, but they bring life back into a day that feels flat. You do it once. You remember how much power you actually have. You do it every day. You become someone who doesn't quit on themselves just because they're tired. Tiredness is not the enemy. Stagnation is, because when you stop moving, everything slows down. Your ideas, your creativity, your optimism, your strength. You were not designed for stillness. You were designed for growth. Growth only happens in motion. There's also a mental battle in the background you don't always see. When you choose movement over comfort, you win that battle. You tell your mind, I'm not here to wait, I'm here to act. And that message rewires everything. You stop looking for the perfect moment. You start creating it. You stop asking for permission to feel better. You start giving it to yourself through action. You'll notice the shift. It won't take long. Move your body and your thinking clears up. Move your body and your mood stabilizes. Move your body and your sense of control returns. It's simple, but it's powerful. You don't need more advice. You don't need a new strategy. You just need to move when you don't feel like it. This habit, once built, will save you in difficult times. It will carry you through fatigue, uncertainty, pressure, and low motivation. It becomes your anchor. It becomes your default response to difficulty. Don't freeze. Don't hide. Move. That movement, even when light gives you strength back, it reminds you that you're not powerless. Most people wait to feel strong before they act, but strength is created in motion. Confidence is earned in the middle of effort. So the next time your energy feels low and you think about skipping movement, remember this. You're not doing it for how you feel now. You're doing it for how you want to feel an hour from now, a day from now, A week from now, you don't have to run a marathon. You don't need to break records. You just need to keep the promise. Move even when it's easier not to. That's how you build a better body. That's how you sharpen your discipline. That's how you take back control of your life, even when everything feels off. Movement is your tool. Use it when you feel low. Use it when the day feels heavy. Use it when your thoughts are foggy. Use it when you feel unmotivated, because that's when it makes the biggest difference, and that's when it proves who you're becoming. Someone who doesn't wait to feel good to do good. Someone who leads with action. Someone who keeps going when others stop. That's growth. That's ownership. And that's how you rise every single time.
Chapter 8. Track your actions, not your fake intentions daily. You can talk about goals all day. You can say you want to improve. You can write down your dreams in a notebook, post quotes about discipline, and tell everyone you're working on yourself. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what you actually do. Not what you meant to do. Not what you said you'd do. Not what you planned to do. Just what you did. Your actions are the truth. Your intentions are only real when they show up in your behavior. Everything else is just noise. Every day, people wake up with good intentions. They say, "Today I'm going to eat clean, work hard, stay focused, stop wasting time," and then they go back to the same distractions, the same delays, the same weak habits. They tell themselves they'll do it tomorrow. They promise themselves they'll get serious soon. But days turn into weeks, and weeks turn into months. Nothing changes, not because they didn't want it, but because they never measured whether or not they acted on it. This is where most people get stuck. They confuse intention with action. They feel good about setting a goal and think that's progress. But goals don't mean anything without movement. You don't get stronger by thinking about working out. You don't build skills by planning to learn. You don't create change by wishing for it. You grow by doing. And doing means tracking what's real. Tracking what actually happened, not what you hoped would happen. If you're serious about improving, you need to keep a record of your actions, not your thoughts, not your feelings, your actions. What did you do today that made you better? What did you avoid? What did you finish? What did you ignore? Those answers will tell you everything about your growth. Your journal should not be filled with inspirational words. It should be filled with evidence. Evidence that you showed up, evidence that you followed through, evidence that you moved forward, or evidence that you didn't. This is not about guilt, it's about clarity. When you track your actions, you remove the guesswork. You stop lying to yourself. You stop overestimating your progress. You stop hiding behind the illusion of effort. It becomes simple. Either you did it or you didn't. And that kind of honesty is hard. But it's necessary, because until you face the truth of your behavior, you'll stay stuck in the story of your intentions. People love to say, "I'm trying," but trying isn't the same as doing. Trying is vague. Trying is soft. Doing is clear. Doing is measurable. Either you made the call or you didn't. Either you showed up or you didn't. Either you stuck to the plan or you didn't. No more maybes. No more one-day promises. If you didn't take action, then the day was wasted. And that's not to make you feel bad. That's to wake you up. There's something powerful about writing things down. At the end of each day, look at your list. Ask yourself, did I take real steps toward the life I say I want? And if the answer is no, don't make excuses. Don't explain it away. Just admit it. And then fix it tomorrow. That's how you get better. Not by faking progress, but by facing what's real. Intentions don't build discipline, habits do, and habits are built through repeated actions, not repeated thoughts.
You can't improve if your daily effort is based on how you feel or what you hope to do. You need something solid, something you can look at, something you can measure. That's why tracking matters, because what gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets improved. You don't need a fancy system. You don't need an app. You don't need color-coded charts. You just need a pen and some honesty. Write down what you actually did, not what you planned, not what you thought about, what you did. If your list is short, that's okay. If it's messy, that's fine. But it needs to be real, because when it's real, it's useful. Your progress is built on consistency, not bursts of inspiration, and consistency is built through awareness. If you don't track your actions, how do you know if you're consistent? How do you know if you're improving? You don't. You guess. You hope. And that's why so many people feel lost. They don't feel progress, because they never see it, they never measure it, they just chase the next motivational boost, and wonder why they're still in the same place. Real discipline starts with observation. It starts with paying attention to your behavior, not your excuses, not your moods, but your patterns. Patterns tell the truth, and you can't change a pattern you don't see. That's why you write it down. That's why you track. You become your own coach. You stop relying on motivation and start depending on data. Every day is a vote. You're either voting for the life you want or the one you're trying to lead. Every action is a ballot. Every habit is a statement. Are you choosing growth or comfort? Are you acting on purpose or running on autopilot? Your answers live in your actions, not your words. Start treating your day like it matters, because it does. Start looking at time like it's valuable, because it is. You don't have forever. You don't have unlimited chances. Every day you delay your actions is a day you're further from your potential. And potential without action is nothing but wasted space. It's easy to talk about goals. It's easy to plan. But planning isn't progress. Talking isn't work. The only thing that matters is what gets done. Track that. Build that. Measure that. Your future is being shaped by what you do when no one's watching, and that's exactly what your daily actions reveal. This isn't about being perfect. You will mess up. You will have bad days, but if you're tracking your actions, you'll see the pattern. You'll know when you're slipping, and you'll catch yourself before you fall too far. That's the safety net you build, not through motivation, but through clarity. You want to grow? Prove it. Prove it with your action. Prove it by tracking your behavior when it's hard. Prove it by facing the gap between what you say and what you do. That's where change begins. That's where improvement starts. Not in intention, but in action. So every day, ask yourself one simple question. What did I actually do today to improve? Write down the answer. Face it. Learn from it. Build on it. And repeat. That's how you change your life. One real action at a time. No fluff. No fake motivation. Just the truth. The honest, consistent truth. And if you can do that, every single day, you'll become unstoppable. Not because you dreamed it. Not because you hoped for it. But because you earned it. One tracked action at a time.
Chapter 9. Look in the mirror and tell the truth. Stand in front of the mirror, not to fix your hair, not to adjust your clothes, not to check your face. Stand there to face the one person who knows the full truth about you. No filters, no performances, no distractions, just you and your reflection. This is not about appearance. This is about honesty. This is about accountability. Because growth begins when you stop lying to yourself. You can pretend to the world. You can act like everything is fine. You can smile in front of others and hide behind habits. But when it's just you in the mirror, none of that works.
That reflection doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't listen to your stories. It doesn't applaud your intentions. It shows you what is. And most people avoid that level of truth, not because they can't face it, but because they've become too used to running from it. The reason people stay stuck is because they avoid the uncomfortable parts of self-awareness. It's easier to say, "I've just been busy," than to admit, "I've been wasting time." It's easier to say, "I'm working on it," than to admit, "I haven't done a single thing I said I would." It's easier to focus on someone else's faults than to admit, "I'm not showing up for myself." But all of that keeps you in the same place. No matter how much you talk about change, nothing happens until you stop protecting your comfort and start protecting your truth. You need to look yourself in the eye and tell it straight. If you've been lazy, admit it. If you've been inconsistent, own it. If you've been avoiding the hard work, call it what it is. Not because you're trying to shame yourself, but because you respect yourself enough to stop pretending. Pretending never helps you grow. It keeps you soft. It keeps you small. It delays the exact changes that could change everything for you. The mirror doesn't lie, and that's exactly why it's so powerful. It reminds you that your life is the result of your choices, not your past, not your circumstances, not your potential, your choices. And if you want better results, you need better decisions. But you can't make better decisions if you're still lying to yourself about where you really are. There's nothing wrong with being behind. There's nothing wrong with struggling. There's nothing wrong with falling off track. The problem is pretending you're not. The problem is acting like you've got it all figured out when deep down you know you're lost. The truth may hurt in the moment, but it will always give you the power to start over with clarity. Lies may feel good for a second, but they leave you trapped. You need to build the habit of facing yourself daily, not once in a while, not when things fall apart. Every day, ask yourself the real questions. Did I do what I said I would? Did I act on my priorities or my distractions? Did I grow today, or did I just go through the motions? These answers can't be sugar-coated. They need to be honest, even if they sting, because it's the sting that wakes you up. It's the sting that breaks the pattern. It's the sting that says enough is enough. That's the moment real change becomes possible. Not when you're inspired, but when you're honest. And you can only get that honesty from yourself, not from a book, not from a podcast, not from advice. From facing yourself and saying, "This is where I really am, and this is where I need to go." You don't grow by looking away. You grow by looking directly at what's holding you back. And most of the time, it's not something out there. It's a decision you keep avoiding. It's a habit you keep justifying. It's a standard you keep lowering. But once you name it, once you say it out loud, it loses its grip on you. The weight of denial disappears, and now you're left with the raw material for progress. There's no need to be cruel to yourself, but you do need to be clear. Being kind doesn't mean making excuses. It means telling yourself the truth, so you can move forward. It means respecting yourself enough to stop hiding. It means holding yourself to the standard you say you want. And that means checking in with the one person who knows the real answers, yourself. Your goals don't need better intentions. They need better alignment. Your actions need to match your values. Your time needs to match your priorities. Your effort needs to match your dream. And the only way to check that alignment is to look yourself in the mirror and ask, am I living in a way that honors what I say I want? If the answer is no, then you have work to do, and that's okay. The work is what transforms you. Every time you choose truth over comfort, you strengthen your foundation. You build resilience. You build mental clarity. You stop relying on motivation and start relying on discipline. You stop drifting and start directing. But none of that happens without a daily moment of truth. That moment when you hold yourself accountable, not for punishment, but for progress. This habit, this simple raw honesty, builds character. It sharpens your decision-making. It makes you quicker to correct your behavior. It keeps you aware of your own patterns, and that awareness gives you control. It gives you the ability to pivot. It gives you the mindset to improve. Not someday, but now. Don't run from that reflection. Don't avoid it, because it's uncomfortable. Use it. Let it remind you of your standards. Let it reflect the areas you've improved. Let it highlight the gaps you need to close. That mirror isn't your enemy. It's your checkpoint. It's your compass. And the more often you use it with honesty, the more progress you make. There will be days when you don't like what you see. That's part of growth. You're not always going to be proud. You're not always going to be on point. But if you're honest about it, you're still on the right path. Because truth leads to course correction. And correction leads to better results. One of the most dangerous habits in personal growth is pretending you're improving when you're not. That illusion gives you just enough satisfaction to stop trying. But your future doesn't need illusions. It needs action, and action starts with truth. So stand there, look yourself in the eye, check the truth. Not to break yourself, but to build yourself. Not to shame yourself, but to sharpen yourself. Not to stay stuck, but to move forward. Say what needs to be said. Admit what needs to be fixed. Recognize what needs to change, and then go do it. Because once you've told yourself the truth, there's no room left for lies. Only room for movement. Only room for work. Only room for progress. And that's how you grow. Not by hoping, not by pretending, but by being brutally honest. Consistently. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Because that honesty, practiced daily, becomes your edge. It becomes your fuel. And it becomes the foundation for everything you're trying to build. That's where strength starts. Right there in the mirror. Face it, tell the truth, and use it to rise.
Chapter 10. Stop negotiating with your weakness every single day. There's a moment that shows up in every day, sometimes right when you wake up, sometimes when it's time to start, sometimes when no one's watching. In that moment, there's a voice inside that tries to cut deals with you. It whispers things like, just skip it today, or you've done enough, or you can always start fresh tomorrow. That voice isn't your friend. That voice is weakness, trying to convince you that comfort is more important than commitment. And every time you listen, you train yourself to step back instead of stepping up. Weakness doesn't knock on the door and announce itself. It shows up disguised as logic, as a soft excuse, as a temporary delay. But it's not temporary. The more you entertain it, the more it becomes your default. The more you negotiate with it, the more you believe that it's okay to fall short. That becomes your habit. That becomes your identity. And soon, you don't even notice it anymore. You think you're tired. You think you're overwhelmed. But what's really happening is you've gotten used to letting weakness make your choices for you. You have to cut that off. You have to get to a place where the decision is already made, where there is no debate. You said you'd do it, so you do it. You said you'd finish, so you finish. You don't ask yourself if you feel like it. You don't weigh the pros and cons. You don't pause to consider an easier option. You act. You move. You execute. Not because it's easy, but because that's the only way to build strength. Discipline doesn't grow by chance. It grows by repetition. Every time you say no to weakness, you say yes to your potential. And that yes adds up. It builds trust. It sharpens your thinking. It makes your standards real. But if you keep opening the door to doubt, to hesitation, to softness, then you're building the opposite. You're reinforcing inconsistency.
You're feeding the part of you that doesn't want to grow. Weakness will always give you reasons. It's too early. It's too late. You're too tired. You had a long day. You deserve a break. It's just one time. And it sounds reasonable, but every time you accept those reasons, you give up a piece of your edge. And in time, you stop expecting anything from yourself. You become someone who waits to feel ready instead of someone who acts with purpose. You don't have to be motivated to move. You don't have to be inspired to follow through. You just have to stop making room for negotiation. The minute you allow yourself to decide whether or not you'll do what you said, you've already lost. Because weakness is always louder than discipline when you give it time to speak. Strength comes from making the decision before the moment arrives. You train yourself in advance. You decide what matters. You set your schedule. You create your non-negotiables. And when the moment shows up, you don't think, you act. That's how professionals operate. That's how leaders build habits. That's how strong people live. Not because they always feel great, but because they refuse to listen to the part of them that wants to quit. You have to understand, weakness isn't an identity, it's a choice. You weren't born soft. You weren't born undisciplined. You became that by giving up little by little. But just like that, you can take it back. One decision at a time, one battle at a time. And it is a battle. Every day, between who you were and who you're becoming, between what's easy and what's necessary, between comfort and growth. You don't win that battle by hoping for better thoughts. You win it by acting faster than your excuses, by creating routines that lock you into progress, by not leaving the door open for weakness to walk in. And that starts with honesty. Where are you negotiating with yourself? Where are you telling yourself partial truths? Where are you allowing delay to disguise itself as planning? Once you spot it, cut it. No more back and forth. No more letting emotions guide decisions. Emotions change. Standards don't. If you only act when everything feels good, you'll never see what you're capable of. Your best work comes when you act in spite of how you feel. That's where growth lives. In the uncomfortable, in the effort, in the moments when no one's watching, and the only person who can hold you accountable is you. Think about how much time you've lost talking yourself out of action. How many goals you've pushed back. How many plans you started and didn't finish. Not because you weren't able, but because you kept negotiating with your weakness. Every skipped task, every delayed start, every lazy excuse. It all adds up, but so does the opposite. Every disciplined step, every time you push through, every action taken without giving in to softness, that adds up too. And that's what turns average into exceptional. There's a part of you that knows what needs to be done. It doesn't need more motivation. It needs more commitment. It needs fewer escape routes. It needs you to take the option to quit off the table completely. That's how you become someone different. Not by dreaming, not by hoping, but by removing the choice to back down. That's real strength. Not loud, not flashy, just solid, quiet, consistent. And when you stop negotiating with your weakness, you feel it. You walk taller. You speak with more certainty. You carry yourself differently. Because now you trust yourself. You know you won't fold when it's hard. You know you don't need ideal conditions to show up. You know your word means something. That's not just discipline. That's power. That's how confidence is built. Through action repeated, without excuse. You don't have to fix everything in one day. But you have to stop giving yourself reasons to stay the same. That means getting uncomfortable. That means choosing what pushes you forward over what feels good right now. That means doing what matters, even when your mood says otherwise. This is not about being perfect. You will slip. You will get tired. But the difference now is that you no longer enter into discussion with the voice that says give up. You hear it, but you don't respond. You move anyway. You work anyway. You finish anyway. That's how momentum is built, through consistency, through ownership, through refusing to settle for anything less than your best effort. Every day, the choice is yours. Feed your weakness, or feed your strength. Give in to excuses, or rise above them. Listen to fear, or act through it. No one else can make that choice for you. But once you make it, once you choose to stop negotiating, everything begins to change. Not instantly, but steadily. Day by day. Action by action. Your goals don't care how you feel. They care what you do. Your future doesn't need more conversations about what you might do. It needs execution. It needs action taken when it's hard. That's where transformation starts. In the decision to do the work without opening the door to doubt. So stop explaining why you can't. Stop waiting until it feels right. Stop looking for another reason to delay. Decide who you want to be, and act like it. No debate. No negotiation. Just action. Over and over. Until discipline becomes normal. Until the voice of weakness gets quieter. Until progress becomes your new standard. And when that becomes your way of living, you won't need motivation anymore. You'll be powered by consistency. You'll be led by your own example. And you'll become the kind of person who doesn't back down. Not because life is easy, but because you made a choice long ago to stop negotiating with anything that weakens you. That's how you grow. That's how you improve. That's how you win every single day.